Day 6 started in a little town midway between Vienna and Salzburg. We enjoyed having opportunity to be a part of a local celebration event there and visit with several individuals from the region, during which we learned some German and they practiced their English. Being a traveler gives you opportunity to learn more about the authentic culture of a country, be it the language, the etiquette, or the food. This is in contrast to being a tourist that only experiences what tourism puts forward and may or may not give someone a true picture of the country or region that they are in. The 4 weeks in Europe was a mixture of both for us, but we found that traveling rather than just touring was far more enjoyable and enlivening. The stint between Linz and Salzburg was only about an hour, but especially memorable because I pretty much got run over by a baby carriage while attempting to be of assistance loading a stroller behemoth onto the train. It made me grateful to only have to manage a carry-on during this trip. At the Salzburg station, we worked through some schedule details in the itinerary for the next few days. We also obtained our Salzburg passes. We highly recommend the Salzburg Pass if visiting here. It is well worth it to be able to take the public transportation everywhere in the city and have access to several key sites and experiences. After finding our bus, it was off to the outskirts of the city to place our luggage at our Airbnb. Our apartment there was one of our favorite Airbnbs of the whole trip. We enjoyed being a little ways outside of the city, and our host and hostess made it an exceptionally welcoming stay. Willkommen in Salzburg, or welcome to Salzburg. Because we were able to get to Salzburg earlier in the day, we were given more time to get geographically situated. We also were able to take an audio-guided walking tour without getting lost this time, a great success in my opinion. The tour started on the Mozartsteg, or Mozart Bridge, one of the 3 main bridges that connect the historic and modern sides of the city. We then strolled through the Mozartplatz and Residenzplatz, and spent time looking at the beautiful buildings in the square's Glockenspiel, or clock tower. Capitolplatz offers a nice view of Hohensalzburg, the city's fortress on a hill that we would have opportunity to visit on the final day of our stay. St. Peter's Cemetery is a location that inspired one of the sets in the Sound of Music scene where the Von Trapp family is hiding from the Nazis, near the end of the film. It was neat to be able to see the original location. The Toscanini Hof was the next stop and is one of the Salzburg festival halls. This is also a key Sound of Music movie location where the Von Trapp family performed together and sang Edelweiss with their fellow Austrians before making their escape. Unfortunately, it wasn't possible to see inside the hall the day we were there, but atop the stairs there is a path that takes you to an outlook and gives you a lovely view of the city, and it truly is filled with the sound of music.
So here we are at a Salzburg restaurant.
Drinking juice and eating schnitzel.
Apple carrot. Mine is apple sour cherry with a lovely salad in a cute little container. Pork schnitzel, seasoned potatoes, spinach dumplings, and dessert courses coming next. And what is this delectable delight you have?
Kaiserschmarrn.
And what's mine called?
It's like Mozart Toblerone.
Mine took like 15 minutes. What are they? Cream dumplings? Anyway, I took a picture of it. Of the menu so I know
Yes, and
what
this
it
comes
is.
with some kind of plum topping. And
There's a plum
fresh
topping.
plum. Yes, plum.
Perfect.
So this is Salzburg. Late Saturday night, we decided to add something to the next day's itinerary, and I'm so glad we did.
Gibt es nichts, was besser ist als andere Dinge. God knows instantly and effortlessly all matters, all mind and every mind, all spirit and all spirits, all being and every being, all creaturehood and all creatures, every plurality and all pluralities, every unuttered secret, all thrones and dominions, all personalities, all things visible and invisible, in heaven and in earth, motion, space, time, life, death, good, evil, heaven, and hell.
We didn't know what to expect as we walked up to a warehouse in search of this little group, but as another English-speaking visitor said as we walked up, the best things are found in warehouses, and they were so right. After a long and circuitous walk and bus ride back to the Altstadt, or Old City, we stopped at the Burgerista, the best burger joint in Salzburg, we decided. We want a franchise back home.
Here we are at the Burgermeister. Emily has ordered the combo meal and is perusing the drink section. We have some homemade iced tea, pink lemonade, and maybe a rainbow lemonade. Notice there's actually an ice dispenser at this location.
It was a hip little place that was pretty packed out, and once we were served our entrees, we knew why. Yum. Next off, we walked around Salzburg in the rain. In spite of the rainy weather during most of our stay here, we found this city to be one of our top highlights of the trip.
56 degrees and raining in Salzburg.
Here's Mom and me, probably being illegal. Don't see me for both ends, but it blocked. Hey, what?
Salzburg, Austria was originally the site of a Celtic settlement and later became a Roman town. Around 700, the abbey and nunnery were established, and in 1278, its archbishops were acknowledged as princes of the Holy Roman Empire. It therefore became quite a seat of power. Because of the renovations by Salzburg's later archbishops and a fire in 1818, there is not much remaining from its medieval history. The Baroque and Renaissance themes are far more prevalent today. Back in the city center, a raspberry pastry and hot beverages soon helped us thaw out a bit, and we enjoyed using their nifty little coffee machine.
That has a Enkelfenet in it. Maybe I should just go with this. Yeah, I would. Alright. Oh.
Taking a few minutes to simply relax and enjoy watching the passers-by was a nice diversion to the schedule.
Here we are at the local Spar at a self-checkout.
We almost made it out of the Spar without occurrence to speak of, only the chip and fin machine didn't like us much and we had to have help from the staff there.
Please wait for assistance. I get the drink.
We finally broke free of the crowded supermarket and made it back to our little apartment where we attempted to dry out and prep for the next day's outings. The day dawned with low-hanging clouds, but we were hopeful that the weather would clear as we made our way towards Untersberg, the northernmost massif of the Berchtesgaden Alps near Salzburg. It took about 30 minutes to reach the base of the mountain, where we then climbed aboard a cable car. Maybe it's a good thing we couldn't see just how high that cloud-covered mountain was. It might have been enough to be surrounded by thick white clouds and still feel butterflies when the cable car shifted midway up. It was great though, and I'd definitely do it again, and maybe even risk it on a clear day too. At the top, we raced to one of the giant picture windows, but had to wait patiently for short glimpses of the valley below, which continued to play hide-and-seek very well. Impatient for more adventure, we decided to brave the outdoors. It was frigid.
Okay, so this thermometer says that it's
to above 0 Celsius, so it's about 36 degrees in this alcove. It's about at least 15 degrees cooler out there.
Wind chill.
Oh no! Untersberg is split between Bavaria, Germany and Salzburg, Austria, and on clear days it offers a breathtaking view of miles of landscape far below. Interestingly enough, there are subterranean caves inside the massif, and even rumors of a subterranean lake. For around 2,000 years, Untersberg was a source of marble for Austria and Germany. There are still quarries on the northeast side of the mountain today. By the time we reached the indoors again, I thought my hands were frostbitten. Thankfully they weren't, and my camera's weather sealing capabilities turned out to be rather solid as well. So much for grandiose vistas of Salzburg and the surrounding region, but seriously, Untersberg is worth the trip if you happen to come in good weather. Or if you're not so excellent with heights, cloudy days are great too. Back on the bus, we wound our way back to the Altstadt of Salzburg. There was little time between our return from Untersberg and our next activity. In fact, we missed our first time slot by only a few minutes, so we decided to visit our friends at the Burgerista again. We each ordered something different and still want them to come to the States. Next on the agenda was the cruise on the Salzach, or the Salzburg River, also included on the Salzburg Pass. The Salzach River used to carry boatloads of salt down its waters years ago, and though the 30-minute cruise didn't offer the most grandiose views, it did serve as an educational experience. Mr. Leopold's is an eccentric little cafe where we stopped for coffee, hot chocolate, and a luscious plum strudel with cream sauce. Yes, please. It was then up to Hohensalzburg Fortress, the largest fully preserved castle in Central Europe. To reach the top, you can either hike or take the fortress funicular. We opted for the latter because of our Salzburg passes. Funiculars were created all the way back in the 15th century and are found all throughout Western Europe today. They are slightly different than a train in that they use the technology of an elevator and railroad. Each car is pulled up or down via a cable while traveling along a track. Hohensalzburg was originally built in 1077. Its size and architecture were added onto up until 1500. It is a stalwart piece of work and has never been captured once by foreign troops. It is certainly an interesting site to explore, and it also offers grand views of the valley below. On one side of the castle, you see this wide expanse of valley and more rural city, whereas on the opposite side, which we would see more of later on, there was a new perspective of historic Salzburg and the Salzach River from up above. Once inside the courtyard, we found our way to the castle apothecary's garden. It was filled with all kinds of herbs and medicinal plants, and Mama couldn't resist documenting this lush little spot. We were able to take a tour of the inside of the fortifications and also explore much of the outside while there. One of the reasons that the castle was never taken by foreign troops is due to the fact that it never really faced siege. However, Salzburg did surrender without a fight to the Napoleonic forces in 1800. Later in the century, it was used as a storage depot, for barracks, and as a dungeon. In 1892, the funicular railway opened, and the fortress became a tourist attraction. But then, during the 20th century, it reverted to being a prison for Italian and Nazi prisoners of war before Germany's annexation of Austria in 1938. Today, it remains open to the public as an iconic site of historic importance and as one for exploration. By this point, we had worked up quite the appetite and found our way to a restaurant by the name of Sternbrau. Oh, deliciousness! We had amazing dinners of schnitzel, boiled potatoes and cranberry sauce, as well as bratwurst, fried potatoes, and sauerkraut, both served with blackberry juice. This was the real deal. After dinner, we enjoyed watching a beautiful sunset from our viewpoint on the Staatsbrücke, or State Bridge. We then walked to the Mirabel Gardens and enjoyed viewing the flowers and shrubberies, even in the waning light. After our last glimpses of Salzburg at dusk, we walked like there was no tomorrow in order to catch the number 7 bus back to our apartment and the pretzels that were awaiting us. Salzburg is so much more than the location where The Sound of Music was filmed. Of course, it is fun to see those places that are in the movies, but really, that is just one facet of experiencing this city. It's filled with beautiful architecture, awe-inspiring views, enchanting music, many kind people, and delicious and authentic food. Salzburg is on my list of favorite things.